Hello and welcome to Oddspedia FIFA World Cup or Club World Cup. We are going to analyze this summer with Leo Bachanian this new tournament in the United States. And I'm really looking forward to analyzing all these teams and who is better than our South American expert, Leo Bachanian. I'm kind of excited about this new tournament. Are you, Leo?
Yes, to be honest, yes, Edu. And I had the feeling that, okay, this is, of course, the first edition of this type of Club World Cup, but I had the feeling that with the years, this is going to become huge. I don't know if it's to the point of, like, for the teams, or at least for the European teams, to feel that it's as good or as important as a Champions League. But there is a kind of vibe, and now that which maybe 1 or 2 months ago, for sure we didn't have. So the expectations are high. I'm really looking forward, and this one should be something that you look at in the calendar for the coming years. Of course, it's going to be every 4 years and not every year, but it seems to me that it's going to be a very good one, Edu.
Yeah, there are a lot of caveats with teams almost on holiday, some other preparing for this FIFA World Cup. Let's see how the players are physically. So we are going to talk about this in this show. Remember, guys, to leave your comments. Of course, press the like, subscribe, and now let's go on with the show. Well, we are going to analyze the best games in this first match day in the Club FIFA World Cup. So, Leo, first stop is the first game. Actually, on Sunday, the tournament starts with Ahly Inter Miami. And, of course, it's very interesting to analyze Inter Miami. Leo Messi's Inter Miami. We saw him just a few days ago with Argentina. He played from the start against Colombia. But there are a lot of starts in Inter Miami. We have Jordi Alba, Luis Suarez, Busquets, all coached by Mascherano. And Inter Miami, they are not favorites to advance in this group, but they are favorite to win this game against Ahly from Egypt. Remember, Leo, that in this group, we have Porto and Palmeiras as favorite to advance. How do you see this Inter Miami? How is Messi, by the way? How did you see him against Colombia?
Look, Edu, Messi is looking sharp, to be honest, physically sharp. Yes, it's true that with Colombia, he couldn't finish the game, and it was something very strange, because when they asked Scaloni why he did take him off in the second half, he said that he was not planning to take Messi out, but it was Messi that when he saw that 2 other changes or 2 other subs, they were coming in, he asked Scaloni to get subs, something that we are not used to. Usually, what was the idea? We know Messi wants to play every single game, 90 minutes all the time. Well, but his was for the first time that I can hear Scaloni saying that Messi wanted to come out. But other than that, he looked sharp physically. I like his game. I mean, yes, of course, it was a tough game for Argentina, but I had the feeling that yes, it was a real test to see how is Messi at the moment, because with the MLS many times we do not have the real idea of how he's doing. But to be honest, he wasn't far away from the best Messi. Of course, some caveats, he cannot take, after 1 or 2 plays, he cannot take the third one. He needs to release the ball. Yes, we all know that now. But still, to be honest, he's in a good shape and a good level. Let's see how it's going to arrive for Saturday. I do agree that Inter Miami is not a candidate to go to the second round, to the knockout stages. But I don't agree with you with this game particularly, Edu. I don't see Inter Miami being the favorite against Ahly. I mean, the question with Inter Miami is how much the defensive weakness and mistakes will hinder, to be honest, their chances to get to that knockout stage. Inter Miami is a team that needs to score 3 or 4 goals to win a game. That is not sustainable. As much as you can boost Lionel Messi, Suarez, Busquets, Alba, still is not good. It's not good enough if you still need to score 3, 4, or 5 every single game. The start of the season was far from the way they finished the previous one. Yes, it's true. They got knocked out in the playoff early in the playoff last season. But let's remember, Inter Miami finished top of the league in the regular season, first time in their history. But with Javier Mascherano, they have already dropped 19 points in MLS already after 16 games. And they were already knocked out of the CONCACAF CONCACAF Champions Cup in the semifinals, by Vancouver Whitecaps. In my opinion, Inter Miami this season, Edu, has a squad which is not as good as the last season, because as when you took away the A-listers, last season Inter Miami had 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲, now in Brighton, and I spoke about him a few times in other shows we have done. They have Julian Gressel, Robert Taylor, who had a very good feeling with Messi, Matias Rojas now in River Plate, Leo Campana, the Ecuadorian, who scored very important goals also last season. He also left. In goal, Inter Miami, they have Oscar Ustari. He's 38 years old. So basically, it's all down to individual quality, individual talent. But let's see how many we say they're going to make at the back, which is being very costly at the moment in the MLS. And let's see with Ahly, which people might say, okay, it's a team from Egypt. How can I'm saying that Inter Miami is not favorite? But let's wait. This is a giant of African football, Ahly. They won they won 4 of the last 6 African Champions League. They've been in the final in 6 of the last 8 African Champions League. They won more than 40 titles in Egypt, the last 3 consecutively. They're a very technical side, like most of the northern African teams. I had the chance to watch them 2 years ago with Al-Ittihad in the Club World Cup, but with a different format, of course, not this one. And that the Al-Ittihad, the team from Saudi Arabia, it was full of Kanté, Fabinho, Benzema, and Ahly, they trust them 3-0, and they didn't allow them to touch the ball almost. Last season, or last December actually, against Pachuca, they were very close to reach the final to play against Real Madrid of the Intercontinental Cup, and they lost on penalties. So again, I don't see Inter Miami here being the favorite. That's why my take in this one, Edu, double chance, Ahly 1.80. Other good options, probably both teams to score yes, all goals over 2.5 could be good, but my take, double chance, Ahly 1.80.
Well, there are a lot of jokes also around Mascherano as a manager and not succeeding with Inter Miami yet. Remember, Inter Miami is the only team invited to this competition, the only one that couldn't get their ticket. But we have plenty of stars in Inter Miami. Well, on the same day, we have probably the best game in this match day 1, PSG, Atletico de Madrid. This is in Group B. Both are favorites to get to the next round with Botafogo and Seattle Sounders in this group. Of course, the European champions, PSG, now second in the outright market to win the tournament, although, in my opinion, Leo, they should be considered as main favorites for the tournament. And in my opinion, here we have a clash of forms, because we have Atletico de Madrid on holiday since they were kicked out by Real Madrid in the Champions League in that penalty with famous penalty of Julián Álvarez, and we have PSG competing until 2 weeks ago in the Champions League final. So perhaps PSG are way better physically. There's a huge question mark about how the players are physically, especially the European ones. And here we can see specifically Atletico Madrid 3 months on holidays, PSG only 2 weeks on holidays.
Yes, absolutely. And to be honest, Luis Enrique, up to this week, he keeps repeating that he goes to the United States to win this tournament, but I still have my doubts. Which side of PSG we are going to see, if he's going to be a heavily rotated side by Luis Enrique, because all you have said, they've been competing up to 2 weeks ago, and some players, they've been competing until a few days ago with the Nations League. Actually, we need to remind everyone, Edu, that Dembélé is out, he's injured, and actually 𝗀𝗲𝗿𝗀 looked tired with France in the Nations League. Mendes, Vitinha, and João Neves might be tired, but mentally they are, yes, of course, over the moon after winning the Nations League with Portugal. The latest head-to-head we have between these two teams, it was in the Champions League, but that was 6 months ago. It was in Paris. Atletico won that game. But to be honest, this is very difficult to explain how they won it, because
they were very lucky.
Very lucky. They were absolutely. They won it in the last minute, or in the 91st minute of the game, after Paris Saint-Germain had like how many chances? 10, 12, 15 chances to score. Probably they played that game again, and Atletico won't win it. But that is for me, the main question is which teams are we going to see, to be honest, in for this encounter. It's true Atletico had the privilege of the advantage, if you want, more than the privilege of having the team on holiday for a longer time after they got kicked out of the Champions League, and they knew they were going to qualify to the Champions League through La Liga without any problems. But the poll yesterday, playing with Argentina against Colombia, had to be taken out because of a knock, and he looked, actually, to be honest, very leggy in the game against Colombia. So I don't think so he's gonna play this game, or that he's not going to arrive in a particular amazing form. Julian Alvarez, he scored against Chile the winning goal for Argentina. With Colombia, he looked sharp, but anyway, I don't think so with Julian Alvarez there is any question about his physicality. He can play. If you ask him to play 70 games a season, he will do it without any problems. On that game in Paris Saint-Germain, remember, had the 70% possession that night, and I don't think that is going to change much going into this Club World Cup, even if Paris Saint-Germain rotates heavily the starting 11, which I don't know. It's just a question. It's something to have in mind, at least, Edu. But again, I'm repeating what Luis Enrique has been saying. He's going to the United States to win this tournament. The money is very important, as much as the prestige that they can give you to win this type of tournament. So something to look at. As I said, Edu, I don't expect a goal feast here. We're going to see the same routine with Simeone and Atletico as we are used to for more than a decade. So my take here, goals under 2.5, also 2.16.
And the only new signing for Atletico Madrid is 𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐿, a player that used to play for Atletico Madrid, because they were working on Baena, for instance, from Villarreal, but he has not arrived yet to Atletico de Madrid. So I guess it's right to say so that PSG are favorites for this game. Odds are around 2 if they win, and also for the tournament. The next game we are going to analyze is Palmeiras Porto. This is a very, very interesting game. Group A, together with Ahly and Inter Miami. And here the odds are really balanced between these two teams. Of course, there is a huge connection between Brazil and Portugal. Leo, Portugal, or Porto in this case, they had a really, really bad season for them. One of the worst of the recent years, finishing third with the former president who passed away, and with Villas-Boas as president. Now they have to start a new project. They signed, for instance, 𝗵𝗵𝗿𝗀, the Spanish player who was in Saudi Arabia. And Palmeiras, you are an expert in the Brasileirao, Leo. They won all the games in the Libertadores, but they are coming from defeats against Flamengo or Cruzeiro, for instance. And they have a player that I'm looking forward to seeing also in this tournament, 𝗵𝗏𝗏.
Exactly. He's supposed to be one of the stars of the tournament, at least as much as Palmeiras is on it. And Palmeiras is the favorite for me to top this group, Edu, even on top of Porto. We are talking here of a team that has been the best South American team for the last 5-6 years. They won the Brasileirao in 2022, in 2023. They finished second last season. They won the Copa Libertadores in 2020 and in 2021. The season in Brazil and in South America is still halfway, and Palmeiras has already finished the group stage of the Copa Libertadores, being the best team of all. And they're going to face Universitario from Peru in the last 16, and they are the main candidates to lift the trophy. It's true, it's early stages still in the Brasileirao, but they're still only 4 points away from Flamengo at the top of the league there in Brazil. They have one of the best talents in South American football, as you mentioned, which is 𝗵𝗏𝗏. Of course, he's way better. I can tell you, he's way better than hendrick at the same age than the player that now is playing for Real Madrid. He's going to be a Chelsea player once he celebrates his 18th birthday this summer. He played for the first time from the start with Brazil against Ecuador away. Ancelotti, he couldn't believe what he saw in training. He said that he couldn't believe how talented he was, and he gave him a first start in Ancelotti's first game at the helm of Brazil. Yesterday with the Paraguay, he did not start, but see, we are talking here about a huge talent. Then we need to talk as well about Abel Ferreira, their manager since November 2020. Abel Ferreira has been one of the best managers, if not the best, in South American football, as well, alongside Palmeiras as the best team. In midfield, then they have Richard Rios, the Colombian midfielder, who is such a talented player, and he did great yesterday against Argentina. He's probably one of the best number 8s in South American football. They just paid, well, not just, but in February, they paid 25 million euros to get Vitor Roque from Barcelona. Anyway, I'm not a big fan of Vitor Roque. Now when he was neither when he was in Paranaense, now when he was in Barcelona, even in Betis. I don't know who was the agent or the scout, Edu, that convinced Barca that he was the next Brazilian thing, because it was a rush by. I mean, when Real Madrid went for Endrick, Barcelona needs to go for someone, and they told him, and someone told Barca, look, Vitor Roque is the main thing, and he wasn't, and he's not, but still a good player, I would say. The parity, yes, is total for the bookies. Very tough season for Porto, finishing the third in the Primeira Liga, 11 points behind Sporting. They couldn't pass Roma in the knockout stages of the Europa League in the last 16. For Anselmi, if Porto does not do well in this Club World Cup, maybe we're going to hear news about Martin Anselmi continuing or not as the manager in Porto. Knowing Abel Ferreira and knowing how Palmeiras is usually a team that if they defend in a mid-block or low block, it's very tough to go through them, and Palmeiras can hurt you in transition as well a lot. It's a team that has many faces. That's why they are so good, because they can defend deep. You are not going to find spaces. They can punish you in transition. They can punish you with possession. But again, knowing how Ferreira prepares this kind of game, I will believe Palmeiras is going to give the ball to Porto. They're going to have to do the job, and Palmeiras is going to sit in a low block. Usually a team that is happy with a 1-0, with a 2-0. So goals under also 2.5 for this one, Edu. That's my view, 1.68.
Really interesting and leveled this Palmeiras. Porto, we are going to skip the Botafogo, Seattle Sounders, and Chelsea LA, really favorites, of course, the Blues, and we jump into another interesting game. Leo, Boca Juniors, Benfica in Group C together with Bayern Munich and Auckland City. So this is a key game to qualify. We expect Bayern Munich to qualify. We expect Auckland City to be the worst team. So this is a key game. Leo, you are a Boca Juniors fan. I was talking also to other Boca Juniors fans, and they are not very optimistic for this competition. With Miguel Russo as a manager, and we have great names in Boca Juniors, Cavani, Ander Herrera, Marcos Rojo, for instance, but they were out of the Libertadores very early this season, and they have in front of them Benfica. Last season they competed well, I must say, in the Champions League, out against Barcelona. They were second in Portugal. They have a great manager as Bruno Lage, and they have great players as Pavlidis or, for instance, Carreras, who will join Real Madrid. But Benfica was able to keep him for this FIFA World Cup. Do you agree with the odds? Boca are really a huge underdog for this game.
Yes, I do agree, Edu, to be honest. And I am a little terrified of what could happen in the game with Bayern Munich, to be honest. But that is a match day too. The debut with Benfica give Boca a little bit more hope, I would say. It's a must win for Boca, or at least one not to lose, Edu, because as I said, the second game is against Bayern Munich. and then basically you can arrive to match day 3 to play your last game without probably any chances to go to the knockout rounds. But the expectation from the supporters, yes, are huge. At least to see Boca playing in this type of tournament. Just a little thing, Boca and Real Madrid are the only two teams who have sold out their tickets for this Club World Cup. That tells you a lot, the expectation from people to see Boca in Miami. They're going to play their first two games there in Miami, which we know there is a big Latin American community there. Boca is arriving in the middle of a convulsive season. In October, Boca fired Diego Martinez and went to look for Fernando Gago, who was in Chivas in Mexico with a contract running. Boca paid the release clause, and Gago went back to the club in which he made his debut before moving to Real Madrid. And Gago had one job, Edu, and that was to make sure Boca qualified to this season to the Copa Libertadores, and he didn't do it. And that was in February. Boca expected him to quit. He didn't do it. He stayed another 3 months until he was finally fired. Boca was out of the playoff in the quarterfinals in the Argentine League. I was in Buenos Aires last month to watch them play in the last 16 and in the quarterfinals with Independiente, and it was hard to watch at sometimes. And you were wondering how we're going to do against Benfica, against Bayern Munich. Now we have, as you said, Edu, Miguel Russo, third spell in Boca. He's the last manager to have won the Copa Libertadores with Boca in 2007. Yes, we are arriving with Edison Cavani, but he's not fit to play the first game, and we still don't know if he's going to make it to play against Bayern Munich. Ander Herrera is going to be the number 5 for Boca. He's fit at the moment, and hopefully he can keep like that. In central defense, yes, Marcos Rojo. In attack, the hopes are with Miguel Merentiel, who was called by Bielsa to play for Uruguay a few times, and he has been Boca's goal scorer in the last 12 months or so. Boca is trying to sign Leandro Paredes, but even if they sign him, even if Boca plays the release clause in the coming days, he cannot play in the group stage, and he's going to be able only to play if Boca qualifies to the knockout stages, because then you can change the list. So basically, yes, I understand the odds at the moment. For Benfica, it's been a weird season, basically because they finished second in the league, and they lost also the final of the Portugal Cup against Sporting. In the Champions League, they had nothing to do against Barca, to be honest. And they know that Ángel Di María is going to say goodbye after this tournament, because he already signed his contract with Rosario Central. He's returning to play in Argentina, to his beloved club. Boca will for sure try to make this a cagey game, at least in the first half, and then they're gonna see if they can expand a little bit more in the second half. With that in mind, my take for this one, first half draw, 2.23.
One of the most beautiful careers in football, in my opinion, Di Maria's one.
Absolutely.
He had chosen, I think, rightfully his teams. Well, really interesting. This game, we are gonna jump into Group F. Leo, I made you a favor not to analyze Ulsan Hyundai against Mamelodi Sundowns. I'm not sure about your knowledge about Korean and South African football, but in this group, we have Fluminense, Dortmund. Both teams should advance to the next round, and for this game, also the German team are huge favorites. Our odds are 1.5. We had big news with Dortmund announcing Bellingham, but the other one, the brother, the other one this week. So big signing it must be for Dortmund. Another Bellingham in the team, and Dortmund finished the season on a hype. Niko Kovac made almost a miracle, I would say, made a huge impact qualifying the team for the Champions League, because they were lost in the Bundesliga. Even the team competed somehow against Barcelona, so therefore, Leo, they are big favorites against Fluminense. I was checking the squad of Flu, and we have some big names known in Europe, like Thiago Silva or Ganso, for instance.
Yeah, well, actually, Thiago Motta is the poster boy for Fluminense, but I'm saying boy, and he's 40 years old, which tells you a lot about Flu not having an exciting young talent like Palmeiras or Flamengo can boost. Ganso, who was very instrumental to win the Copa Libertadores 2 years ago with with Meneses, Fernando Diz, I'm sorry, he's now not playing regularly from the start. They secured actually this place in the Club World Cup because they won the Copa Libertadores, as I said, in 2023. Fluminense, they used to play very good football under Fernando Diniz. It's not much left of that. They now have Renato 𝐿𝐵𝐿, who is a good manager, but a little bit more conservative than Diniz. For 𝐿𝐵𝐿, is the sixth spell managing Fluminense. I don't know if that is a record, but probably not too far of a manager going back 6 times to the same club. From that winning team, we don't have Marcelo, who retired, the left back, André, who used to own the midfield. He's now playing for Wolverhampton in the Premier League. John Kennedy, who, if you remember, he scored in each of the knockout rounds to win that Copa Libertadores in 2023, and he's playing now in Pachuca. And Ganso, as I said, playing mostly, or coming mostly from the bench. The same for Germán Cano, who was the goal scorer of that Fluminense, and now he usually spends more time in the bench than on the pitch. The last time Fluminense played the top European team, they lost 4-0, and that was Manchester City in the final of the Club World Cup, with a different format, of course, in 2023. The moment or the form for Fluminense, anyway, is not bad. They are fifth in the Brasileirao, 4 points behind the leader Flamengo. But if there is something to expect, probably that is goals with this one, Edu, because Dortmund have scored 44 goals in 20 matches under Kovac. They scored 6 against Union Berlin, 4 against Bayer Leverkusen, 4 against Freiburg and Wolfsburg, for instance. 𝐿𝐵𝐿𝐻 sometimes getting stick because he can be a little bit wasteful in attack, but he scored 15 goals in the last 15 club games, and Fluminense, on the other hand, have scored 26 times in 17 games across the Brazilian League and the Copa Sudamericana. So I would expect goals in this one for sure, but still we're gonna have to expect as well a Fluminense side is gonna sit in a low block, especially when you look at the pace that Dortmund can have up front with Adeyemi in the mix. Julian Brandt, of course, as I said, I mentioned 𝐿𝐵𝐿𝐻, 𝗀𝐽𝐺𝐻 coming from the back, Pascal Gross, Emre Can, a lot of quality, of course, for Dortmund. Clear favorites here. My take is goals over 2.5. The odds are 1.7, not bad for goals over 2.5. But if anyone wants to combine the goals market with Dortmund to win, the odds goes up to 2.63, but otherwise my take goals over 2.5, 1.7.
Okay, and on Tuesday we also have Group E. This one is very interesting. We have a River Plate, Urawa Red Diamonds, with River really favorite, but be careful because Japanese teams usually compete well in these World Cup competitions or Intercontinental Cup or whatever you want to call it, Leo. But also we've chosen Rayados de Monterrey, Inter Milan, because we have the runners-up of the Champions League, Inter Milan, destroyed by PSG. Remember a couple of weeks ago, Simone Inzaghi left the club, went to Saudi Arabia, and Inter just announced Christian 𝐿𝐵𝐻, a strange appointment, in my opinion. He was managing La Primavera, he was managing Parma this season, but he does not have a lot of experience as a top-level manager, and now he arrived only a few days earlier to start this huge competition against Rayados de Monterrey, a team that finished 7th in the Clausura, in the Mexican Clausura, but we have big names also in Rayados. There is a lot of money in Monterrey, as you know, Leo, and we have Sergio Ramos, we have Sergio Canales, Oliver Torres, or Ocampos, for instance, in Monterrey. And anyway, the bookies place Inter as huge favorites, but be careful, in my opinion, for this game.
This was supposed to be the greatest season ever for Inter, not winning a possible quadruple, Edu, and it ended up being one of the most upsetting ones, with one of the worst defeats we can remember or we have seen in the Champions League final included. How they are going to regroup after that, and without Simone Inzaghi, is the biggest question for Inter. You mentioned Christian 𝐿𝐵𝐻, the first reinforcement he tried to get to Milan. It said no to him, and that was Walter Samuel Il Muro, who is a good friend of 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲, and they play together in Inter. And 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲 wanted the Argentinian as his number 2, but Samuel is with Scaloni in Argentina and said no. A decision that, in the words of Scaloni 2 days ago, in the press conference before facing Colombia, he said that for Samuel was the most difficult decision he had to make in his life, because Inter is the club of his life, so 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲 won't have Samuel next to him. He did well in Parma, managing to keep them in Serie A, but it was a very surprising appointment, to be honest, Edu, the Christian 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲 one. Probably 2 months ago, we would have started saying for this game that Inter is a team that will punish you in transition, that if they score first, you are very unlikely probably to score against them. But however, in the last 3 matches in the Champions League, that made us think twice, because Inter conceded only 5 goals, if you remember, in the first 12 matches of the Champions League this season, before letting 11 in the last 3. I think 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲 will see this tournament, probably, Edu, as well, as an opportunity to see players who did not manage to have a lot of minutes. Some players need to rest as well. Lautaro Martinez, probably the first one. You could tell in the final with PSG that he was not fit at all. He's been dealing with muscular injuries, ankle injuries all season. Çalhanoğlu, the same. He was fighting muscular injuries all season. Bastoni mentioned that he was mentally tired by now. So we're going to have to see. I mean, if 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲 tries to rotate heavily, at least at the start of this Club World Cup. It's also interesting to see if 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲 is going to build from what Inzaghi left, which was to play with 3 at the back. But 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲 in Parma used to play most of the games with 4 at the back. Is he going to do the same now with Inter, when the players have been growing used to, for the last 3 or 4 years, to play with 3 at the back under Simone Inzaghi? Many questions, which I don't know exactly the answers. But they still should have enough, yes, to pass probably Monterrey. But this side, Rayados is a good team. You mentioned all the good players they have. Sergio Ramos hopefully is going to be fit to play. We don't know. We haven't played the game in more than 1 month, Edu. He hasn't finished the season playing for Rayados. They are arriving as well with a new manager, because Martín de Michelis said goodbye after losing in the quarterfinal of the Liga MX. Now they have Dominic Torrent, the former Pep Guardiola's assistant, who had previous experiences as a number 1 in Galatasaray and in Flamengo, but it didn't go well. But of course, it's not just Sergio Ramos. You mentioned a few very good ones: Canales, Lucas Ocampos, Oliver Torres. So yes, they do have talent, but we're going to see as well their approach under a new manager like Torrent. I think that this match is going to be more competitive than I thought a few months ago, because of these changes in Inter especially. That's why my take for this one, Edu, Monterrey Asian handicap plus 1.5, odds of 1.60. Not too bad.
I agree. I think this is going to be a really close one, and it's going to be interesting to see the transition, the end of an era, the end of Simone Inzaghi's era. So the tournament is not arriving at the best time for Inter Milan. And the last game we are going to analyze is the other Mexican team. Remember that America, the biggest club in Mexico, were knocked out in the preview, in the playoff, by LAFC. So we have the other team is Pachuca playing against Salzburg. This is the group of Real Madrid. We expect Real Madrid to top this group. So this game is very important to qualify for the next round. We have Salzburg as favorite, Leo, but perhaps it's because they are a European team, because we saw them this season and they were so poor. They were the worst team in the Champions League. Every team trashed them in the Champions League. They couldn't even win the Austrian league. Remember, this is the Red Bull group, so they are used to raise the player, form the players, and then sell them, especially to RB Leipzig. And we have Pachuca with some big names, as we are used to see in Mexican teams. For instance, we have a classic one, Salomón Rondón. Rondón.
Yes, and to be honest, Salzburg, for me, is not even the candidate to go through as a second, or at least they will fight for that, maybe with Al Hilal. last season was very poor for Salzburg, finishing third in the Bundesliga, in the Austrian Bundesliga, third from bottom in the Champions League with 36 teams. That says a lot. And Pachuca 6 months ago was playing a final of the Club World Cup against Real Madrid, or the Intercontinental Cup, a final that finished 3-0 defeat. But Pachuca is the second most successful team in the CONCACAF champions with 6 titles. They were the first CONCACAF team to win a CONMEBOL title, winning the 2006 Copa Sudamericana, which actually they still remain the only team in to win a tournament outside their confederation. That did not happen with any other team in within FIFA, and that is Pachuca. They are known, they are best known, Edu, because they are having the best academy in Mexico. The best example of this is now with this team, Elías Montiel. Have a look on him, the central midfielder, only 18 years old, and one of the best players they have. In December, in the Continental Cup, he was chosen MVP twice. Elías Montiel. The club has produced export quality players throughout the years, like Héctor Herrera, Chucky Lozano, Eric Gutiérrez. The experience, yes, of course, comes along with Salomón Rondón, the captain of the Vinotinto. He has scored 22 goals since joining in January 2024, and 14 out of those 22 goals, Salomón Rondón, he scored them last season, on the season that just finished 2 months ago for Pachuca. I don't think so. Probably this is going to be the most entertaining game on Matchday 1, but it's one with good odds. So my take here, I will still lean on Salzburg because the odds are interesting at good 2.4. But if anyone was thinking of Asian Handicap Plus for Pachuca, I wouldn't disagree either, Edu.
Well, this is it. These are the best games, in our opinion, in match day 1 in the FIFA Club World Cup. Remember, or I want to announce, actually, Leo, that we have a tipster competition specifically.
Yes.
For the FIFA Club World Cup, so you can participate. You can check it in our website, and there are cash prizes, 1,000 euros. So it's good for you to participate. It's absolutely free to participate. You just have to sign up in Oddspedia and participate in our tipster competition, specifically for this FIFA World Cup. And also remember that you have rivals where you can create your own tipster competition with your friends. Leo, which one is your safe bet for this match day 1?
Borussia Dortmund to win 1.55
against Flu and the
exactly
ACCA?
And the ACCA, Borussia Dortmund to win, and then Ahly against Inter, both teams to score yes plus goals over 2.5. So these two tips together, but remember the Ahly Inter Miami is a combined one, a total of 4.52.
All right. Thank you, Leo. Thanks everyone for watching. See you during this FIFA Club World Cup. Bye bye.